And so now we are going to do our top 5 definitive player rankings of 2020. These are players that you must own. Must own players of 2020. The best of the best.
I'd argue that any of the top 20 are must owns, but
You know what?
for argument's sake. For argument's sake, no. These are the guys you want to own.
I did a bad job with that. I'm not going to lie.
Let's see here. So for my number 5, I'm going to start off by reading all of these stats and the rankings for them. He was number 3 in drop passes. His run block efficiency was average. His breakaway run weight was number 39.
I think I know who we're talking about.
His yards per touch was only 23rd in the league. True yard per carry was only a number 17. Juke rate was rated number 27. His production premium 38. Yards created per touch was number 39. And with all of those deficiencies, he's still ranked as the number 4 running back last year, and that's Ezekiel Elliott. That's the thing where he could have all the bad stats or maybe not bad, but questionable stats in the world. But because of the role he's in, he's finished a top 5 back every, I guess, not the season where he sat out for 4 games. Mm-hmm. But if he would have played those games at the same clip, he would have. But he's ended as a top 5 running back every year. And it's Ezekiel Elliott.
It does make it hard to bet against him.
Yeah, just because he could have all those things going against him, still number 4.
The usage and the health is the.
There are a lot of misconceptions about him. I have a friend who's a Cowboys fan, and he said, well, Ezekiel Elliott is the best rush blocker, or he's the best blocking running back in the league, and by the numbers, he is number 13. So there's misconceptions.
And that's
people
not even to say he's bad.
Yeah, people say he's a fantastic receiver, or they say he's a bad receiver, but he's all right. But then I hear people say no, he's actually very good. But then he has the third most drops, so there's concerns there as well. His efficiency's been pedestrian, but even with all this, again, he's still the number 4. He was still the number 4 running back last year, and he always stays healthy. So there's a lot to like about him. There's a lot of stuff that you don't like about him, but it seems for fantasy perspective, that stuff doesn't matter.
I think that there's also a chance he could get back to old Zeke too. I think,
Well, he ranked number 4 last year.
I mean, I'm just
arguably
saying,
that is old Zeke.
I'm saying, like, with his explosiveness, his quickness, I think those are things that I don't think he's old enough or has enough wear on him that he would. I don't know why
he's younger than me.
Yeah, he shouldn't be falling apart. So I don't see any reason why he wouldn't, be better this year.
Yeah, he's just a safe pick.
Very safe.
Like, unless he like tears an ACL, but he's never done anything close to that. Like, as long as he stays healthy, which of all the people in the league, he's probably the most likely
very good
to.
At that.
He'll be a top 5 back. So that's why I have him in the top 5. Mm-hmm. He's not going to be number 1, but he'll stay around the top 5. Alvin Kamara is my number 4. This one, I could swap those two if I wanted to. These guys are so close.
Honestly, most of the top 5 or 6, 7 are going to be pretty interchangeable to some extent.
I'm expecting him back an up year this year with Breeze coming back, because they had Teddy Bridgewater those 6 games, and his touchdowns declined significantly last year. He was apparently playing on a torn MCL. He is very elusive. He ranks number 11 in evaded tackles. He's an elite receiving back, and for PPR, it's what you want. He had 5, or he's number 5th in targets, excuse me. He did also benefit from the system a bit. This is most likely when Drew Brees was in. 45% of his runs were against a light box, which is only 6 or fewer defenders.
That's nice.
So, yeah, 45%. That's good. There's one thing that I found incredible, other than his sprained ankle and his torn MCL, but these could be a product of this. He led the league in big hits, which is, when you think of him, shifty, he avoids the contact. He led the league in big hits. So that's something that I don't think a lot of people know about, and I didn't know about it until I looked it up. But he's had kind of injury concerns in the past, and it's maybe he gets hit a lot more than we think he does.
One thing that always concerned me a little bit when I watched the film,
and Latavius Murray,
was how much they ran him up the middle.
They do that all the time.
He was hitting A/B gap all day, where with his skill set, they hardly ever used him on the ends.
But it worked. That's the weird part. It works perfectly fine.
A guy like him, you want to get in space, though. So, I felt like if they would... I don't know why they don't, and I'm sure there's a good reason, but it seemed like if they used him at all on the perimeter, he'd be so much better. Mm-hmm. But I don't know.
Yeah, he's one of those guys, I think, a lot... whenever I talk about anybody, he doesn't get hurt, he evades the tackles. But I guess not. The stats say otherwise. Number 3, I still like him a lot, though. I was gonna say Latavius Murray does. He's such a good handcuff where they'd be fools not to use him, especially in scenarios like on the goal line. I feel like you have like Latavius Murray as a backup is fantastic. So that does always worry me a bit if they have a playoff spot locked or if they're close. They might want to keep him healthy and give him less target or less carries as well and use Latavius.
Do you feel that you would need to handcuff Latavius? Is he a must grab if you have Kamara?
I think for where Latavius Murray is getting drafted in the ADP, I believe it's round 11. I think he's a must grab for anybody at round 11, let alone especially Kamara.
But I mean, like, would you go out of your way to get him?
If I draft him a round early in the 10th round, yeah, if I owned Kamara, I'd do it.
Oh.
But at that point it'd be a reach. But it's one of those things where I think everybody should at least try to get him just to be safe. Let's see here. Because, yeah, I had him last year, and the 2 games that Kamara missed, he scored over 20 points each game. And he won me a couple of games for what I spent. I think I spent like a 12th or 13th round pick on him. And if you can win a couple of games with a 12th or 13th round pick, I think you should do it. Because mostly those guys are typically busts anyways. If you're drafting poorly. But number 3 is Derrick Henry. I am overrating Derrick Henry, I think, just a little bit. It seems like from the ADP and from what a lot of people are saying, they don't like him as much as I do. But I really like him, even in the PPR league. He ranked number 8 in true yards per carry, which gets rid of garbage time and the big runs, so you can see his consistency, which shows that he's very consistent. He's very consistent. He ran against an average of 7 defenders in the box, which is very high for the league average, and he was still ranked number 8 in consistency, which is great. Generated 34% of the team's total offense, which is number 4 in the league. 7th in evaded tackles and number 2 in breakaway runs. Everybody views him as a power back, but he's 7th in evaded tackle. Granted, he probably led the league in carries, so his number will be up, but number 2 in breakaway runs. And my biggest complaint, I do see his receiving numbers going down before I go into the complaint. Last year, I mean, if they can go any lower, last year he had 200 receiving yards, or maybe not lower, maybe stay the same, but he had an 80-yard touchdown week 1. So if you take that away, for essentially the season,
you're trying to steal his big plays back.
That's a fluke for him. So if you take that away, he had
for Derrick Henry, Derrick
Henry.
Yeah, okay.
And so let's fine.
He has a surprising amount of breakaways.
After that, no, that was just I'm talking about receptions.
Oh.
No, breakaway, he was number 2 in breakaway runs. So receptions, he had 200 yards last year. With week 1, he had an 80-yard. That means week 2 through week 17 or 16, he had 17 with the bye. He had 120 yards, which is not good. But they got rid of Dion Lewis, so I feel like his number might go up a little bit, but I don't see a big jump there, unfortunately. The one thing that bothers me to no end with the naysayers on Derrick Henry, the Titans are running him into the ground. He's going to have a career. His career is going to last until he's 25. Don't draft him in a dynasty league.
This isn't dynasty, kids.
Yeah. Don't draft him in a dynasty league. He's going to get hurt. He has less career touches than Christian McCaffrey. I have not heard that complaint about Christian McCaffrey once.
He's still pretty new.
Yeah, but
eventually you'll hear it.
Henry's played one more year and has less career touches. Fun fact. But
that was very fun.
Everyone is so concerned about Derrick Henry's health, whereas their guys be like, we can't have him. We can't have him top 3. His health concerns. But then guys like Christian McCaffrey had 400 touches last year. That's a concern, and I have that as a concern with Christian McCaffrey. I do think as a player, Christian McCaffrey is better, but I think the whole narrative that Derrick Henry is getting run into the ground and has 1 good year left, I think that's a load of nonsense. But yeah, if he were to surpass 2,000 yards this season, I honestly wouldn't be very surprised.
Those Titans backs.
It's CJ2K 2.0, but he was so good last year in the postseason.
2.0, they couldn't be any different.
I know.
More different.
I know. But they both generate success. Fine, DeMarco Murray 2.0.
I forgot about him.
But yeah, it's just the way they ran last year in the playoffs. They ran him into the ground, and teams still couldn't stop him. They knew exactly what they were doing, and they couldn't stop him. And I feel like this year with Tannehill especially, once his numbers went way up with Tannehill, especially with the play action pass, I feel like they're going to utilize that more. And I feel like the Titans, I mean, I was going to say are going to be a sleeper team this year, but they made it further than Baltimore last year. So they're not a sleeper. They were really good last year.
Mm-hmm.
But I could see Derrick Henry, I wouldn't say easily, but if he were to stay healthy all 16 games, I'd say it's about a 50-50 that he gets 2,000 yards.
League MVP? You put money on it?
No, running backs don't get league MVP.
Oh. Never.
Adrian Peterson didn't get his league MVP when he had 2,100 yards.
It's a shame.
Yeah, but I think Derrick Henry is going to lead the league in rushing yards again pretty easily.
Yeah, it definitely wouldn't be a surprise.
I say again, I'm not sure. Was Nick Chubb ahead of him last year? I know they were really close. Again or not again, whatever. I believe he's going to
I thought he led the league, but I could be wrong.
If he plays 16 games, I believe that he's going to be the number one running back, the leader in rushing and 2,000 yards, or around that clip. Yeah, he led the league. Oh, I'm not done.
Yeah.
Number 2 is Saquon Barkley. He had a little bit of an off year last year,
but the offense.
Yeah, he blew his ankle out week 1, and I think
never a good strategy.
No, you don't want that to happen. I don't know what he was thinking. But he came back week 3 and he wasn't the same. I mean, he was still great, but he wasn't the same. 20% of his carries came against the stacked box, and surprisingly enough, I guess not surprisingly because he's ranked number 2, but he averaged 5 yards per carry against the stacked box. So the defense doesn't seem to really affect him much, regardless of what they throw at him, which is always good. That was why I was a little worried with Nick Chubb. Like if they choose to stack the box, like when he averaged 3.1 yards per carry, that's a little concerning because you can stop him. Whereas this seems like you can't really stop him. I mean, you can, but not consistently. He's a great receiving back as well. But there's one stat that blew me away, and you mentioned how poor their offense is. He had 5 goal line carries last season. That ranked 26th, and he had more than 5 touchdowns. So I guess that just shows how good he is. But, yeah, I have him as the number 2. And the number 1's the obvious consensus, Christian McCaffrey. Do I think he's the most talented back in the league? No, I don't. But he's in the perfect scenario, PPR monster, number 1 in targets, number 1 in opportunity share, number 1 in touchdowns, number 1 in goal line. Or no, he's number 2 in touchdowns, excuse me. Number 1 in goal line carries. His receptions have increased every single year. One thing that both leaves me optimistic and one thing that scares me is Teddy Bridgewater. I hate Teddy Bridgewater.
Not personally.
Not personally, no. I hear he's a great guy. But as a player, well, I guess his fans make me hate him. But as a player, first off, Twitter acts like he's the second coming of Jesus. But second, he won't throw the ball further than 5 yards. So that could help Christian in the sense where we'll just dump it off to him all the time, but it could also hurt them because it could pull the defenses in. So I don't expect him to have as good of a season last year, but then again, that's not a bold claim because literally nobody does. So
I think too, their receiving core is actually really good. So
it's just gonna be a waste though.
I think there's a world though where some of the pass work moves on to other people. I mean, they went and got Robbie Anderson. They have the 2 existing guys that are really good.
Why? I'm still 4 months later. I'm still blown away by that Robbie
DJ
Anderson
Curtis, sign. Robbie. You don't have those guys and then not use them. It's kind of the.
I'm going to be avoiding Robbie Anderson like the plague, but
he matches nothing they need.
That's for next episode, I guess.
Well, yeah, I mean he's a downfield guy, so I don't know why.
With a quarterback who can't throw downfield,
it's like having a deep threat for Alex Smith. Just be like why?
What's the point?
Yeah,
but yeah, I don't see him repeating his glory of last year. Again, that is probably the coldest take of all time because last season in a full PPR league he averaged 29.7 points. Obviously,
is it that high? I did not know it was that high.
Granted, he had 1,000 receiving yards, 1,400 rushing yards, 116 receptions, 19 touchdowns. He's another one of those guys I'm worried about in the sense where I'm looking at his touches. Yeah, I'm sorry, I said 400 earlier. He had 403. He had 403 touches. He's still young, but that's kind of concerning.
Like they're not all rushing though.
No, but you're still getting hit. And it's just a lot of hits. And he's obviously the focal point of the offense. So if a good running back were to get hurt, I'd say it's safe to say it would be him just because he gets the ball the most.
From what I saw on film, he did do a pretty good job of staying away from contact.
Yeah, and I'm not hoping he gets hurt by any means. It's just
He didn't take a lot of big hits from what I saw.
That's good. I guess I could look up how many big hits he took, but I guess I'll do that later. But yeah, his 29.7, that's not happening again. I could see it going down to around 20 to 22, which is still fantastic and great for a number 1 overall pick.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, a lot of people are saying he's leaps and bounds ahead of everybody. Last year he was, but this year, like a healthy Saquon, I could see him doing just as well.
Oh.
Granted, but there's value behind it. So in my main league, I have the number 1 pick. I'm not gonna not take Christian McCaffrey just because he has that much more value than the other guys. Like everybody views him as significantly higher than everybody else. I just don't.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's my top 5. So I guess if we want to do a quick rundown, top 5, we have Ezekiel Elliott, Alvin Kamara, Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, and Christian McCaffrey. I'd say the one hot take in there is Derrick Henry because a lot of people like him around the 7 range, 6, 7. But other than that's my list. What about you?
So I don't think you're going to like most of my list.
That's fair.
My number 5 starts with Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones was a monster on the touchdowns last year. You don't think that it can repeat, but look at the Packers' skill positions. I mean, name 3 receivers on the team.
I think you're really discounting Alan Lazard, Iowa State great.
Yeah. Alan Lazard.
They have Alan Lazard, they have Devontae Adams, and they have, I can't think of his name, the guy who was on the Colts and on the Patriots, and he just opted out.
Yeah, our big free agent opted out. And by big free agent, I mean he's tall, not
who was
he's
he
popular.
Again? I can't remember his name.
I don't even want to talk about it because I'm so bitter.
But what is his name? It's bothering me.
I'm not going to talk about him.
Moncrief. That's it, Moncrief.
No, it's not Dante Moncrief.
Is it Moncrief?
No, he's been on a million teams.
I know. He's been passed around.
But I have Aaron Jones as my 5. He's going to have to pick up for the slack on the wide receiving end because our wide receivers are terrible. So I say we because I'm a Packers fan. I would imagine that I think Aaron Jones might not have the same amount of touchdowns, but I think he's going to be close just because of how much usage he gets just in every situation with the rushing, the passing. I think he's going to be our go-to guy outside of Devontae Adams and a little bit of Lazard. So I expect kind of the same out of him. And he's a great route runner. He does downfield catches. I remember he had a massive one last year that was really impressive. He's just very good in space. And I think the Packers are clearly a run-first team now. Whether or not Aaron Rodgers likes it or not, they're just a rush first team. And I think that he's very good and that kind of what he does is tailored for the system that they're trying to run. Matt LaFleur is trying to run down there. So I think he's going to have another huge year. So I would not be hesitant at all to take him top 5. Another hot take is going to be Austin Eckler at number 4. Austin Eckler, I believe Brandon mentioned a lot of the stats about him, but I believe he had the most receiving yards of any running back in the history of the NFL. I believe it was.
I don't think it was that much.
I think
but I could be wrong.
I think he did, and it was
no, because he only had 993
for a running back.
Christian McCaffrey had more.
Maybe
12 more.
There was something about it. I don't know if it was receptions, target. I thought there was.
It was probably drop rate. He had 92 catches and 2 drops. That is very impressive.
I just don't see the offense turning away from that, especially given the change on the quarterback end.
And the fact it was the one thing that worked.
Yeah, I just think that that's something that they're going to keep going to, and I expect him just to be a beast again this year. Yeah. I expect more of the same, more of him to get all the passing work. Melvin Gordon is gone, so he should have his role essentially increase some more.
It's funny because I thought it was a hot take putting him at number 9.
It's in a PPR. He just does so much.
He does. Yeah,
so much with the passing.
I think 92 receptions, which that alone, 92 divided by 16. What's that? Like 6 points a game just on catches.
Yeah, it's
something like that.
It's pretty crazy. So I'm expecting more of the same from him. At number 3, another hot take. It's going to be Kenyon Drake. His production for the 8 games was just incredible. It's clear that he's the match for this offense. I'm not. I know a lot of people are going to argue he wasn't doing all that much in Miami, and his season was terrible in Miami last year.
To that,
running back does well in Miami.
I'd ask the question: Who did?
Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Who found success?
Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Nobody.
So I'm a big believer in Kenyon Drake. I don't think what we saw last year was a fluke, and if anything, I think he could probably get better. I would be more concerned about DeAndre Hopkins than I would be about Kenyon Drake as far as production goes.
He was incredible.
So I like him at my number 3. At number 2, same as Brandon, I have Saquon. Dude's a monster. He does have a little bit of track record of getting hurt, but he seems to play through it. You'd like to think that the Giants are going to keep getting better. I still don't know how the quarterback situation is going to. I don't think Daniel Jones is all that incredible, but we'll see how that pans out.
I'm not a believer like most either.
Yeah, he's good enough. Well, Saquon's good enough to overcome that. So yeah. I like Saquon there. And then at my number one, everybody's number one, Christian McCaffrey. Don't really have to say much. It's just going to be he's very durable. He doesn't miss many games. Has he even missed a game? I don't know. He's very durable, and he's just going to be constant production. If you're sitting there at number one and you don't know what the heck you're doing, just take Christian McCaffrey. Essentially, he's the auto. This is one of the few times that the auto pick is legit right. So
Yeah.
You're going to want Christian McCaffrey, and so those are going to wrap up our rankings